Guys, before I begin the video, if you want me to read your scary story, just send me an email. I'll be linking my email in the description of this video, and the title of the story is The Creepy Man in the Woods. I used to live at a small farm in the US growing up, but as soon as I was 18, I moved out instantly. I'll tell you why. When I was 10, me and my best friend Zach, who lived down the road, used to go to the woods and play. Since we lived in the country, there was almost nothing to do. We would always explore, pretend to be treasure hunters. I always used to take my dad's old cowboy hat, and Zach would take his old small shovel every day. But if it was a bad day, we would just play some games on my Nintendo 64. This happened like 13 years ago, so it was the best you would get. We would always go a bit deeper in the forest every day. We always managed to find something interesting in the woods, like old coins, water bottles, nice looking stones, and some other things. Yeah, I know, really lame stuff, but we were kids at the time, and we always thought of it as treasure. I had a small box under my bed to put the things I found in it, and so did Zach too. We had an awesome childhood. But some creepy shit started happening over some time. One day we were exploring the forest again. We came across a well. We got really excited, thinking we actually found something good. We checked it out, but there was nothing special, and the well was dry. We pretty much got our hopes up for nothing. We headed back home. Another day was over. The next day was Friday, and when we got back home from school, Zach went back to his house, and I went back to mine. Not long after lunch, Zach was at the door. I grabbed my dad's hat and opened the door. When I opened it, Zach was with two other boys. They were much bigger than me and Zach. Zach introduced them as his cousins. They said they were staying with their mom and dad for the weekend. Their names were Danny and Simon. They were both 13 years older than me and Zach. They wanted to go into the woods with me and Zach. We agreed, so we went there. It was a normal day for the most part, but Zach's cousins were total assholes, saying sucks being in the woods and asking us how we never get bored out here. Later that night, around 11 at night, I got knocked at my bedroom window. It was Zach's and his cousins. They told me to come down. I managed to get downstairs without awakening my parents. I opened the door, and the cousins asked me if I wanted to go to the woods. I had never been at night before, and to be honest, I didn't want to go. And I told them this, and they said, "You're lost." They went off in the direction of the tree line. I changed my mind. I grabbed my dad's hat, and I ran after them. I caught up to him and started walking deeper in the woods. I was scared shitless, and by the look on Zach's face, he was scared as well. The cousins stayed in front, shined the flashlights on spooky trees. I noticed we're going in a direction of the well. I knew the place like the back of my hand, so I had a plan in case shit hit the fan, and we all came up on the well. Suddenly, the cousins stopped, turned off the flashlights. We asked them what's wrong. They stood like statues, and we went around them since we stood behind them. And I froze as well. There was a person standing in front of the well, not looking in our direction, thankfully. I stood like a statue, not knowing what to do. Then one of the cousins, I think Simmons, whispered, "Turn around slowly, walk away slowly, don't make any sudden movements." I complied, and we all turned around, started walking back slowly so that the figure wouldn't notice us. Then the terrible happened. I stood on a stick by accident, it made a snap, it was loud, and we weren't far enough away from the figure, so we all stopped again. I looked back, and the figure was now looking at us. I almost fainted of fear. Then, then Danny screamed, "Run!" We all floored it. I dropped the hat while running back, but I didn't stop to pick it up. I had no idea if the figure was following us since all of our footprints made it hard to make out. I didn't look back either, so I didn't know. We all managed to make it back safely. I ran into the house, slammed the door shut. My parents were awake, and I got shouted at by my parents, and I was grounded for a week. But also, they were relieved. My mom hugged me and said, "I'm so glad you're safe." I was confused. I asked them what they were worried about. They told me something that even made me more scared. They told me that recently a escaped killer was on the loose, and he was last spotted in our area. When when like when my dad saw I wasn't in my room, since he usually checks up on me, and the front door wasn't shut, he thought I'd been kidnapped. And then we were about to call the police. I came through the door. After hearing that, I started crying. My parents asked me why. I told them what happened. Their faces were in full horror after I told them that. The police called the police immediately. Later on, they arrived. I explained everything to them. Then they would take a look in the woods, so they did. Half an hour later, they came back with nothing, but they said they would uh, bring back more cops the next day and search the area some more, and warned me not to go in the woods again. I obliged. I couldn't I could barely sleep that night because I was so afraid that man would come for me. The next day, the cops came out to the farm and started investigating the woods. Also went to Zach's house. My mom came in and said she found him my dad's hat on the footstep. I remember that night. I dropped it. How to get there? I thought about it some more. The man in the woods came to mind. I started panicking. My parents calmed me down and asked me what's wrong. I told them about the hat. They had a nervous look on their face. My dad took the hat out to the cops. I managed to calm down, and the rest of the day, I just played video games since my parents grounded me. Around lunchtime, we got a knock at the door. I answered it. It was Zach and his mom. Zach asked me if I could talk to my parents. I told my parents they were at the door. Then they told us to go in their room and play something. I put my ear to the door and listened. Zach's mom told my parents that Danny wasn't in the house this morning. And after hearing the news about the creep in the woods, she began to worry. One thing didn't make sense though. All four of us made it out. I was confused. Then Zach told me something that scared the living shit out of me. He said Danny has left the house when they got back. He left when Simmons and Zach were sleeping, although Zach wasn't sleeping. Zach said he looked out the window and saw him walk back into the woods. He wanted to stop him, but he was too scared to go out there again. He has never come back. I asked him why he left. Zach doesn't doesn't know. Then Simmons came over and hung out later on. I asked him if he knew why Danny left the house. He didn't know either, but he said that Danny used to carry around his dead mother's ring with him since his mother died a year prior of the events of the story. He used to carry it, keep it in a box, and he would take it wherever he would go. And Simmons checked the box in the morning. It was empty. He must have dropped it when he was running from the guy last night. After the day, as the weeks went by, the guy in the woods was never caught, and the cops started investigating Danny's disappearance. He was also never found, and me and Zach never went back into the woods again. Once we reached 18, we bought a house, each other, and became roommates. Nothing is better than having a roommate as your best friend. I'm 23 now. I live with my girlfriend and still hang out with Zach, but even after that time, I still think about that night every night, and I probably will for the rest of my life. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. That was my very first video narrating like a scary story, and you should like and subscribe because I'm going to be doing one of these every Friday, or maybe more, but I'm going to keep it about every Friday. And again, as I said in the beginning of the video, if you want me to read a scary story, email me, and if you can get those in by Friday, by next Friday, like something like that, I'll actually probably use it in the next video. So I just try to get this in by Friday if you can. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Goodbye, and have a wonderful day.